Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to World War II in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the GPMG LMG, or General Purpose Machine Gun. In real life, it's called the Breda 30 Light Machine Gun, and it is one of 3 weapons that you can get in supply drops, challenges, or via depot credits for the Winter Siege event. In my opinion, it is by far the worst of these weapons, but the community kind of likes it. It's a very niche weapon, it's interesting, and we're going to be breaking it down in some very specific detail today. Historically speaking, the Breda 30 light machine gun was considered one of the worst weapons in World War II. The initial purpose was for it to be the standard light machine gun of the Italian army. Unfortunately, it only had a 20-round magazine. It used smaller caliber rounds than other more traditional light machine guns and was notorious for jamming all the time, so it was not a very popular or good weapon. In Call of Duty World War II, it'll deal 30 damage per shot up close, decreasing to 24 at a distance, meaning that it could take 4 or 5 shots to kill, depending on how far away you are from the enemy, and that damage is a bit low, but does reflect the historically small caliber on the weapon. One unique thing, though, is that the 4-shot kill range is 127 meters, which is just insane. That's bigger than the total width of a lot of maps in this game, and I can't think of a single distance greater than 127 meters, so effectively it's a 4-shot kill at every single range. If you somehow manage to get a hit on somebody that's so far away it requires 5 shots to kill, I have no idea what you're doing. There is no way that you should be able to hit somebody at 127 meters in a Call of Duty game. That's just incredible. So just stick with the... So let's just stick with it being 4 shots to kill. Headshot damage is 1.1x, and that makes no difference in shots to kill, well, because you're never going to be shooting somebody so far away that it'll be matter. So don't even bother with headshots. They're neat, they get challenges or whatever, but they aren't going to help you. Rate of fire is 722 rounds per minute. When you put rapid fire on it, that goes up to 777 rounds per minute. That's only 1 RPM slower than the PPSH, and it's kind of fast for this game. There's a lot of slow-firing weapons given that it's World War II, so this one is on the higher rate of fire rates, and especially on the higher end of fire rates for light machine guns. Mathematically speaking, time to kill is going to be slightly slower than average at all ranges, or at least compared to average for other light machine guns. It's only going to be very, very slightly slower. It's going to feel more like an average time to kill than it will anything else, but it may feel a bit weak to some players due to how many total hits it takes to kill. It works pretty good in hardcore because you can just one-shot people from any range more or less, but most of the time you're going to need to get those 4 hit markers to kill, and for a light machine gun that's going to have a goofy feel to it that not many people are going to enjoy. Mathematically speaking, it's very similar to the MG15, but with a smaller magazine and a much longer reload time. It has the same damage, range, rate of fire, all that sort of stuff, but the magazine and reload time are significantly worse. Speaking of magazine size, it's better than the historical size of 20, but the mag size is only 30 rounds. When you put extended mags on it, it only goes up to 45 rounds. So for a light machine gun, this has a very, very tiny magazine size. And with a high rate of fire and 4 shots to kill and the way people like to spray and pray it, you're going to be reloading it a lot. You'll spend a lot of your time using this weapon reloading it. Speaking of which, it has one of the slowest reload times in the game, especially, we'll say, slow compared to how often you're going to have to reload it. The reload animation time is 7.3 seconds. The reload cancel time is 5.2 seconds. So you can save 2 seconds of reload time by just doing the cancel. And if you're running Hustle, it's a bit over 3 seconds. It can be very, very slow, and there's other guns like the Breda and some of the other light machine guns that are slow to reload, but they've all got bigger mags, or they shoot faster, or you might only have to reload it like once in a blue moon. This one, you're going to have to reload every time you kill 1 or 2 people. You're going to be reloading it all the time, which is why I gave it the label of excruciating. This is excruciatingly painful, like suffering level slow on reload, and a lot of times I mount it just to use the faster mounted reloads to get through it faster, but I'm going to go ahead and show you a full GPMG reload in real time so that you get an idea of how long this takes. This might take a little bit. Oh, yeah. Oh. Ah, yes. Drifter sandwiches, just the way I like it. With lots and lots of ingredients and flavors. Which are surprisingly not as bad as I thought. Actually, you should try this. No, for real. All right. Oh, this ought to be fun. Yes, 2. I got a double kill as Hanzo, baby. We're gonna win the game. That's how it works. Once you get kills with dragons, you've already done your Hanzo thing. Look, Ace, I don't care that you've been making guides for years. I'm tired of the competition. You need to shut your channel down, and if you don't, I'm gonna call Michael Condrey, and he's gonna get you banned. Look. Me and Mike are like fucking this. He's gonna ban you guaranteed if I ask him. So just go ahead and quit YouTube, okay? Oh, perfect. Now we can get back to the fight. It's finally done. And now we're back. That's a full reload time, mathematically precise. I timed it. I'm being a smartass, I know, but that's how it will feel when you use it. There is a lot of downtime on this gun. You'll spend almost as much time reloading it as you will be killing people if you play with it aggressively. Sprint out time, aim down sights time, and sprint speeds will all be lower than a standard assault rifle. It's going to be more in line with the light machine guns because it is a light machine gun, but this one feels like a light machine gun that wants to be an assault rifle. It's got an assault rifle type magazine and rate of fire and damage range and all that, but all of your handling properties are going to be much slower. Of note, the move speed is only 25% while aiming down sights and firing, which is incredibly slow, and it's going to feel like you've got sandbags on your feet. You're going to feel like you're made of molasses. It's going to be really, really slow, and you just need to be prepared to stand completely still when you fire the weapon. I find the iron sights to be too bulky for me to track long-range targets. Historically speaking, it was unusual because the iron sights were not adjustable. They were fixed on the gun. You couldn't really adjust either component of them, so they weren't very popular either. I can kill people up close. They are precise. They have a nice little chevron I can use, but they're kind of bulky, so if I want to get anybody long range, I find it to be very difficult. Reflex sight and ACOG sight both help a lot. Of note, the reflex sight is glitched on the GPMG right now, to where if you put on an additional or a different sort of sight attachment other than the default, instead of removing the default and using the tiny dot or the vertical slash or the crosshairs, what it does instead is put those on top of the default. So you get a lot of clutter on the reflex sight and it can be kind of difficult to use. After a lot of trial and error, I ended up liking the ACOG sight better because it was ultimately the cleanest sight that I can get, and because of the slower handling and reaction time, I did end up using this weapon at range. Hip spread I find to be too wide to be used with this magazine size. Hip spread is wider than some machine guns or assault rifles because this one is an LMG and it's going to have wide hip fire spread, but a lot of LMGs have huge magazines or they shoot fast and you can just walk around holding down the trigger and your bullets will hit something and somebody will die. Unfortunately, with the tiny magazine size, you'll burn through very, very quickly, and a lot of times you won't even kill people. One of the good things that this gun does have going for it is that the recoil is very low and easy to control, but it is slightly unpredictable. When it comes to light machine guns, this one probably has the lowest recoil in the game overall, especially lowest compared to the fire rate. It's lower than a lot of the assault rifles, lower than a lot of the submachine guns. It is ultimately a very accurate weapon, especially considering how fast it shoots in the game, but it is slightly unpredictable. There's a little bit of wobble to it. There is an occasional bump in vertical recoil. You'll have to put in a little bit of work to control it. You'll need to put in some experience, but ultimately it didn't take very long for me to master. I was able to master this level of recoil very, very quickly, and I think that's one of the primary reasons the reload is so slow and the magazine is so small, because if the reload were a lot faster, or if the magazine were a lot bigger, or you tune some of these other variables, then the gun could quite easily venture into the overpowered category because the recoil makes it so easy to use. My overall opinion of this is that this weapon is more of an assault rifle than an LMG, but it has LMG-like handling properties. It shoots fast, it doesn't deal a ton of damage, is pretty accurate, works well with reflex sight, 30-round magazine. Sounds a lot like an assault rifle to me, except you run slow, you shoot slow, you aim down sight slow, you sprint out slow. It's got LMG-style handling properties, so it's something of a hybrid between the two, but I don't think it's a very good hybrid. I find the weapon to be pretty bad in general, and I wouldn't use it for anything other than fun. I try not to give too many weapons like that sort of distinction or call out on in-depth, because ultimately people are fans of the weapon. I've already had people on Twitter telling me that they love this gun, they can go on feeds with it, they can do very well with it, and I'm sure that you can. It works great in hardcore, it works great in war mode, where you can camp and it's ultimately a little bit easier, and due to the low recoil, you really can hose people, and you can surprise them, maybe one or two at a time before you take a 7-second break to reload, but people can do it, and they make this work. But compared to other guns, I don't think it's very competitive. I think that other guns are ultimately better. It does pair best with either armored or infantry. My recommended classes will more or less show you what I was thinking on either of those. My setup number 1 is running armored, hustle, extended mags, and reflex. This one gives you the grenade resistance so you can camp pretty easily. It also gives you extended mags, a godsend, and the ability to reload quicker with hustle. The other one you can do is infantry hunker, so that will give you more attachments, faster sidestepping, and more ammo, which is extremely important. Extended mags, reflex sight, and quick draw, so you can use it a little bit more like an assault rifle. The downside to this is you really don't get that fast reload. You can trade out hunker for hustle if you want to, but I'm kind of a hunker addict, and I'm going to keep it on almost all of my classes. Guys, that's all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out. If you want all the weapon stats for World War II in your pocket to go, then look no further than the Ultimate Utility app by Brass Monkey. It's available on iOS and Android. There are links in the description, or you can just search for it in the App Store.
Okay. Oh, you got away as fuck.
Yeah, I did. It's fucking gross. You want the alcohols as well?
I'm good.
Okay. You can give it to Jessica, maybe. Let's go ahead and stop the recording. You know, that could be worse, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was good at all, but I've seen a lot worse. I've tasted a lot worse. Whataburger's a lot worse than that. So what do you think? Culinary invention of the century?
I suppose so.
How would you rate it on a scale from 0 to 10?
3.
Wow, I've done a 3. That's awesome. That's 3 times better than what I deserve.
Hey, Disco, you should try this.
I'm gonna bring it up.